This is my video on the police complaint system. It isn't legal advice, but it is based on my own views and on my own experience. Firstly, you need to identify the complaint, and what I mean by this is you need to make sure that the conduct that you're complaining about is actually covered by the police complaints process. The IOPC website lists the kind of conduct that you can complain about. I've put a screenshot of that on the video there now. In the complaint, you need to identify the police officer or officers who you're complaining about, ideally the name, the collar number, and if you also know the police station that they operate from, that's also useful too. Never tell the police that you're submitting a complaint about them. The reason is that they can then conspire with their colleagues so that they can formulate false entries in their pocket notebooks so that they correlate with each other. They can formulate stories and facts that obviously help them get away with the conduct that you're complaining about. The best thing to do is literally just make the complaint without their knowledge. When you write your complaint, do it in a word processor like Word. That way you can use bullet points to highlight the category of the complaint. By using bullet points, you are actually categorizing the elements of the offence or the complaint. For example, if you're assaulted by a police officer, the bullet point would say you were assaulted. Next to that, you would then produce the circumstances surrounding the assault, say what led up to the assault, how the police officer assaulted you, and any further evidence that you can submit about that particular element of the complaint. Within your complaint, identify any witnesses that you've got. Use the names and phone numbers, contact details, and also, if you can, grab a short statement from the witness about what they saw. Crucially, add your evidence to the complaint as well. So anything you've got, that could be a photograph, it could be CCTV, it could be an audio recording, it could be a witness statement, which is obviously evidence as well. It's important that you introduce this into the complaint. Don't forget, if your incident was covered by CCTV, you may need to do a subject access request, so make sure you do that as soon as possible. A subject access request can take up to 30 days. If the subject access request is actually to the police, you may not get the data at all. Still make the subject access request to them. Also, in the complaint, make sure you refer to the material from the subject access request. Also, send the police a letter and tell them to retain all evidence relating to the complaint that you're seeking. That will help you in the future. Once you finish your complaint, next thing you need to do is just read through it again. Make sure it's completely clear and concise. Check your categories, your bullet points. Check them against the list on the IOPC website about what you can complain about. Make sure you can create a correlation between the two. Also check what you're complaining about, that you've got some points in law or facts about how what you're saying is wrong. It's very important in your video that you don't waffle on. Be clear and concise and don't exaggerate. For example, a classic exaggeration would be somebody complaining saying that they've been kidnapped when in fact they've been falsely arrested. It's important that you identify your complaint correctly and try not to exaggerate it to be something that it's not. For example, a kidnap might seem like kidnap, but reality is it's falsely arrested. Once you're happy with your complaint, the next thing you should really do is ask somebody else to read it. The reason being, it's clear in your mind what you're saying, but you need to make sure it's clear in somebody else's mind what you're saying. Somebody else needs to understand it. So if you get a friend or family to read through your complaint, query anything they're unsure about, and that way you can correct these sorts of issues before it gets submitted. Now you need to submit the complaint. If you do this on the IOPC website, like on the screen now, that way they submit it to the police force for you and you get a copy of this in an email, and that way you have a paper trail and a reference number of everything that's being submitted. So now the complaint has gone to the police force. They should then send you a letter acknowledging that they have the complaint. They will no doubt also send you a sympathy telling you how sorry they are that you've had to use the complaint system, and they will also tell you how independently they're going to investigate it. Take this bit with a pinch of salt. In the acknowledgement letter, they'll also summarize your complaint. Make sure you check through that thoroughly, because this is their interpretation of your complaint, and they can quite easily water down your complaint into something that it's not. So make sure that what they are summarizing it as tallies up with what you reported it as. After a while, the Police Professional Standards Department will write back to you with the outcome of your complaint. It'll either be upheld or not upheld. If it's not upheld, I will do another video about this. If it is upheld, they will notify you the punishment that the police officer will get. Most likely this will be words of advice, and that generally means a slap on the wrist, which in other words means don't get caught doing this again. Please click on the like button if you like this video. Please also click on subscribe, and the bell notification will let you know when I release any more videos. If you want to discuss the contents of this video or ask me any questions, please use the comment section below.